anybody who's watching. Hopefully there's a few. This is Ben in Beta, and I'm here with my good friend
Brian Pegenkoff from Wisconsin.
From Wisconsin. We're both from Wisconsin, I guess, technically.
I never left,
today,
though.
That's true. You did stay true. I left. The winters were terrible. And then I got 15 inches of snow this weekend, but then at 60 degrees and it melted. So,
and I don't know if I've gotten 15 inches of snow all season.
Maybe it's been light in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You might get it this weekend though.
I did hear we're supposed to get a little bit of snow.
Yeah. Anyway, we're here this week to talk a little bit about the Tacoma, and we definitely are welcoming people's questions. So if you have them, go ahead and throw them into the chat, and we'll answer whatever we can. So definitely want to talk about that today. We might jump into a couple other topics as well towards the end, but we'll probably focus on the Tacoma. I did put out a few videos last week, and I've been shooting quite a few as well. It does take a little bit of time to edit all these things and put them together, but I have been doing some of that. But just as a quick homage or a quick goodbye, right? We did trade the Tucson in. Yep, a fond farewell. We did trade the Tucson in for the Tacoma, and we are basically one vehicle family. So that's done for us at this point. And I got a pretty good trade value for it. Honestly, it was pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. So that's done. But we did some pretty good overlanding in that this last year. And I'm looking forward to some of the trips we're gonna be able to take in the future here with the Tacoma. I'm pretty excited about that. So that should be pretty cool. But goodbye Tucson. Hello, Tacoma. So just want to say hello to Dougie Doo. He has a couple of good comments in here. I just have to put a few of these up here right away. As soon as I said that I was going live several days ago, he signed up as a watcher, and he's been just waiting with bated breath to get to see this episode. So I appreciate the watch. Thanks for that. He also says that he used to live up the mountain from the springs as well. So, and the spring snow can be brutal. That's for sure. You'll get a big one, but it goes away fast. I mean, that's what's nice. At least in the Front Range. Once you get into the mountains, it's a little bit different, but snow goes away pretty quick. So, we had about 14 inches. I think I have a few clips I'll probably pull up from the last weekend a little bit when we're talking today too. But we had about 14, 15 inches is what we ended up with on Friday. So, kind of cool. It's good to see snow, but it's also good to see it go away. So yeah, my Tacoma arrived. I did put out a couple of videos on sort of really very first impressions after the first couple of days. I didn't get to drive it too much at that point, but I had sat in it and played around with all the tech and that kind of thing. So I had some initial thoughts there, but I thought I'd let other people ask questions. But Brian, I'll let you shoot and see if we can answer some of them.
Well, so you've had it for how many days now?
It would be 8. This is the 8th day.
8th day. And how many miles are on it as of now?
160-ish, something like that.
Okay. So what's have you taken it up to Pikes Peak or anything like that to see how it handles in the higher elevations?
No, because Pikes Peak is closed right now.
Because of the snow?
Because of the snow.
Okay. All right.
So no, I haven't taken it up there. We haven't gone up into the mountains yet, but we did. I did. Let me just find some of this stuff. So I put new tires on last week. So I got rid of the tires that came from the factory, which are the BFGs, the Trail Terrains, and you know what? They actually they perform pretty well in the snow. And in the test I was able to do, I didn't have a lot of time with it before I switched over to the other ones, but they weren't too bad.
So you did do what you told Tim. Tim, when we were talking with him, you said you wanted to test out the stock tires and see how they did in the snow before switching over. You did get some time at least.
Yeah, I did, and they were actually surprisingly pretty good. I think the Falcon Wild Peak AT4Ws were a little bit better for sure, but it's super subjective, even in your first time out, because I did drive around in both of them. I drove obviously to Discount Tire, which is about 5 miles, and it was in just after it had finished snowing in the morning, so there's 15 inches of snow at that point. which is what you can see here. This was like right before I went to switch the tires out. So I got to drive both ways, one with the BFGs and one with the AT4Ws. And on the way back, the AT4Ws, like, this is what I would just, I'm going to do a more in-depth video, but I would just say they were both pretty good overall. The AT4Ws were better. They were better overall. They were better at just like slow speed starting out, just gripping and kind of moving. And but they are also a little bit rougher on the road. So like, and they'll probably be a little bit worse with gas mileage because they're going to be quite a bit heavier. I have to weigh the other tires yet. I haven't done that. But they're almost 20 pounds heavier, something like that.
Could you tell a difference as far as like the noise?
Nah, noise inside the cabin is really good in this vehicle. So there was no issues with the noise at all. Yeah.
Because I know, like, if I were to switch to some, like, you know, tires like you did, I know that I would have a definite noise, you know, issue given the Jeep.
Yeah, and they weren't really any louder at all. That was not a problem. So with this specific tire, they're known to be pretty good. So this is what it looked like in the morning when I yeah. Actually, that was the night before.
You can't even see the mountain.
No, they're just erased. They're gone.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a little bit about the tires. Again, I'll have a more of an in-depth video on that and in-depth impressions. I took a couple hours worth of video actually from both of the tires, and it's hard to put a video like that together. But like show the difference on camera. It just really is, I think, hard to do. TFL just did one too, and they just said, tires they're fine. So anyway, let me take this off stage here for a second. We have a question, I think. So Dougie Do asks, I've heard 2 or 3 Tacomas dying from spun bearings. Hopefully yours is not one of them. I want to do an oil analysis just in case. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Maybe I will do one of those. I actually hadn't heard about that at all, to be honest with you. But I haven't been in the forums, the actual 4G forums, for a couple of days very much. So I'll go back in there and pop in. Where did you, curious where you saw that? Did you see that in the Tacoma World forums or 4G, or just out in the wild? And if you have a source you want to let us know what it is, I'd love to take a look at it.
I was actually going to ask, I know you sent out the video, you shared the video on YouTube about some of the kind of software quirks that you were noticing with the Tacoma. And I was on vacation. I had spring break happening right now. So my family and I all went down to Florida for a week, had a great time. But so I haven't been looking at the forums or anything myself. I figured you'd probably be on there and seeing if there was any other, besides the software issues, if there's anything else popping up, kind of like he's talking about with the spun bearings.
Yeah, I don't. I haven't seen too much. There the TFL problem with the ADD and the diff. That was obviously something that a lot of people reported on, but that's the only one that I've heard of this far. A lot of people are having software quirks though. So CarPlay, the wireless CarPlay and Android Auto for both versions, whether you have iOS or Android, does disconnect fairly often, or doesn't. It just won't connect. I think that's the problem. So like one time, you'll go to the grocery store, connects just fine the way there. You get in the car on the way back, and then it doesn't connect, and just had a problem reconnecting. And if you shut the vehicle off and turn it back on, sometimes it works just fine. Sometimes it doesn't. So I just kind of ignore that and just not worry about it, because for the most part, I don't need it. But if you did need it, it would be a problem. And so I'll probably, especially if kind of overlanding trips, I'll be just hooking up to a cord the whole entire time. That way my phone stays charged, probably stay a little bit cooler overall, and I think just work better. So I'll have to try that out. Then with the digital key, so I looked at the owner's manual, and I know somebody else pointed this out on one of the forums as well. It actually says in the owner's manual that, so my problem, I guess I should go back to that. So the problem with the digital key was I put that on my phone, and I would be able to open the doors some of the time, but actually in my video, you could see I couldn't even open the doors or like lock and unlock the doors, that was the first time that happened. It just happened on video, so it worked for me. That was nice, but I don't know why. And then I couldn't start the vehicle either. And then after I played around a little bit, then it would start and everything would be fine. And it's really because of the way that Toyota implemented the digital key. So Tesla, the way they've done that is your phone is your key. So you add and remove the vehicle from your app essentially. Whereas with the Toyota one, you're kind of adding your phone to the vehicle. And so one of the things that it says in the manual is if you don't have cell service, you can't use your digital key. So it says, make sure you bring an extra key along if you go somewhere with poor service. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to do this anymore. So I uninstalled the digital key. And I'm just carrying around, I have it in my pocket now. I have the wallet key. And it's like, I guess you can't see that either. It's the size of like 2 or 3 credit cards together in terms of thickness, but the same size as a credit card. Okay. And so it's in my pocket. That has worked every single time. I've been able to unlock and start my vehicle with no problem. So that's been good. The one other thing that's interesting is there's supposed to be a feature where when you walk away, the doors automatically lock. Hasn't done that once. I have it turned on for 30 seconds and it doesn't ever. So I don't know if that's only with a key fob. So one of the actual key fobs, or if it should work with a wallet. It should sense when I'm out of range and then lock within 30 seconds, but it doesn't do that. And then I turned off pretty much all of the notifications from the app, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. So if I want to look at that, I can. And the problem with that, from my perspective for Toyota, is they're trying to sell that as a subscription service. So here's this cool digital key that's going to make it so you only need your phone to be able to drive your vehicle, and it's part of a $15 a month subscription with remote start and all that kind of stuff.
That was, but if it doesn't 15?
Work. $15 a month, yeah.
As in 1.5. Okay.
1.5, yep. So, like, what's the point of that? I just don't. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I guess is why why would anybody want to pay for that, essentially? So those are the big digital quirks. And then every once in a while, when the Android Auto is connected, it'll drop audio for like a second, just quickly drops audio and then comes back. So I don't know.
So okay, just to backtrack real quick here. You said that the digital key, when it's working, will only work with your phone if you have cell service.
Correct. So like
but you still have to pay $15 a month to have the service. And correct. Most people that have trucks like to go places that, may have, spotty service. So like, that seems odd to me.
It's basically not well designed. That's what I would say. It could definitely be better. Yeah. So those are the big quirks. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, and I don't think so. Everything else is good. Like Misty drove it this weekend, so she gave some thoughts, which I'll have in a little bit more in-depth review, hopefully pretty soon as well. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. Dougie Dew also said here. Let me show this one. He said a friend of mine had to replace a Ford key a while back. It was a few $100 from the dealer. Yeah. I mean, everything is electronic, and that's the problem, right? Like we're just headed in that direction where there's more and more technology, and some of it's really good. Like the driver assistance functions in here, which are probably on right now in this drive that I'm showing. You can actually see some of the green in the center dial there. They work fantastic. So whatever software team is doing that stuff, they're doing a really, really good job with that. I don't feel nanny. It doesn't feel like a nanny or anything like that, which some systems can do. And I think even some of the previous Toyota systems can do. So that software team is doing a great job. Actually, I did have one other software quirk, and that is in this digital display here. Maybe I can pull up a different video of it.
Just going back to the lane assist real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you're using it, have you tried to like drift a little bit to the side just to see how much of a jerk the steering wheel?
Yeah, I mean, I've just driven it like I normally do. Like it just keeps you in the center of the lane. So when it's on, it just keeps you in the center of the lane. So it's not jerky like some old systems were, where they were like, oh, you're going off, and they would jerk you back in. This one just keeps you lane centered. So the only times you notice it is if like the lane starts to get wider on or you're like an off ramp or something like that. Sometimes it'll be like, I don't know which way to go at that point, but that's like most systems do that to some degree, but it's very, very light to be able to turn it back on again to the right path. So that's not a problem at all.
So there's been some noticeable improvements in that technology then.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is a good example of what I wanted to show you here. So you can see in the driver display, so it says like 52 miles an hour here. On the left-hand side, I set it up so that shows my tire pressures every single time. And I got my tires the tires changed to the AT4s. And when I did that, I took off, and all of a sudden my tire pressures weren't there anymore. So I thought they had maybe didn't put in the the tire pressure monitoring system things, or didn't reset something. And they're like, no, we put everything back. It should work. I actually drove back. And they're like, you just have to drive for a while and then it'll come back up. And it never did. I was like, what's going on? And then if you look a little later in this video, I actually have to every single time futz with the software to get that to come back up. It doesn't remember to stay up. And that is something that's been reported in the forums as well as an issue. Okay. So hopefully software updates can fix these things, but it's a little annoying because you're like, that's something I want to see, especially if I'm off-road. I might want to see like what my tire pressures are or whatever I've had it set for. It could be pitch and roll. It could be turbo or temperatures or whatever. I want that on there. And if I turn it off and I have to futz with that all the time, it's kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, so. And to the tire companies, point, I know previous vehicle that I drove, when I got the tires replaced, I have the tire pressure sensing. They said basically I'd have to run it. You turn it on like 3 or 4 times, you drive it, that type of thing. It's going to take a few trips before it actually like re-engages and you can see what the information has to show you.
Yeah, it showed up right away when I went into the menus. So I was there immediately. It just was the fact that they had it goes blank for whatever reason on a restart, and I don't know why. And it does it sometimes, but not others. It's very, very odd. So there's a little bit of software bug there. Okay. But yeah, I mean, software, is in everything today, and it's definitely kind of crazy. That one of the features I love, by the way, though, that digital rearview mirror. Oh my God, is that awesome? Because it's hard to see out of the back window of that vehicle, but it would be good for any vehicle. So digital rearview mirrors are fantastic. You get basically a pretty good area of like your people approaching into your blind spots, which is great as well, especially on a truck because it's right next to the cab. So yeah, it works quite well. Very impressed by that, but it's going to get covered up by my rack. So I won't be able to really use it. There is a relocation kit you can get for it, but it looks pretty difficult actually to reroute. And I don't know if I really want to do that. Plus I'll be taking the rack on and off. So I'll just have it when the rack's not on. Or I think in the low position, it might still be good. In the mid-height, I might still be able to see. But when I put the rack on, I'll find out.
Okay. I know I've seen a couple of third-party ones that people can add to their vehicles. It's not a priority for me right now. I mean, I have a backup camera. My rearview mirror works just fine as long as I keep the back window clean. So it's not, like I said, not a priority for me right now. I've got other things that I need to make sure that I have, so that way I can start taking some of these shorter trips come spring here before I make the big trip out to Colorado. But it was definitely something that caught my eye when I saw that was out there, the digital, rearview mirrors.
Yeah, they're pretty cool for sure. So yeah, I mean, the ride has been great. People have asked about the ride. Ride quality has been fantastic. It got a little bit stiffer. You can feel more of the road, I would say. So like, any cracks and that kind of stuff, bigger cracks, you're going to feel a little bit more of these tires than with the stock ones. I would also say, like, if you're not going to do a lot of heavy off-roading, if you're not going to, be overlanding and that kind of stuff, or if you're going to be overlanding in Wisconsin or something like that, I think the stock tires are probably fine. I would say for most people, they perform better in the winter, like in comparison than I thought they were going to originally. I drove in 4-wheel drive to discount tire and 2-wheel drive back, but it had warmed up just a little bit, even in that half an hour, and it started to, the roads were a little bit better. It was still quite sloppy. And I was like, why is this? It was like amazingly better than when I had come in. I was like, what is going on? And then I realized I had, 150 pounds of tires in the back of my truck. and that's why it was so much easier. So, put a little bit of weight in the back and it's much easier. Both of them in the snow, in the deep snow, when we were about 14, 15 inches in 2-wheel drive. If I stopped in, where there's no tracks, I wasn't able to get going again. Both of them, as soon as I engaged 4-wheel drive, immediately were able to pull themselves out. It was just, it was noticeably easier in the AT4Ws though. So I'm glad I did get them. I think they're going to be really great in the trail as well. And Misty didn't seem to mind. She's like, I don't notice the ride being, bad at all. So that was good.
Okay. So I'm guessing you didn't have the stock tires on long enough to really kind of gauge what kind of miles per gallon you were getting.
No,
you've had the new tires on long enough to be able to notice, like, is it about what they, the market stated, or is it a little bit lower, or it still needs some more driving and some
So
driving
I'm going
time?
to say I'm going to reserve judgment on that because right now I think I'm a little over 14 miles per gallon. And the
Okay.
reason, a lot of that is I've been doing a lot of filming. So the truck's just been idling, sitting there running while I'm filming around,
Ah.
filming it, that kind of stuff. And then in the snow, I was going slow, going faster, going fast and braking for really short distances, right? So just a bunch of stops and starts. We were only on the highway for a little bit, so it did improve quite a bit on the highway. And every time I take it out, it's gotten better, continually. And one of the other things I've seen in the forums as well is that the initial like it's just totally confused on what the actual miles per gallon are, because a couple of times when I've like got done with a trip and it shows you your trip miles per gallon, those have been like 17, 18, 19. So we'll see. After this next tank, I will reset everything and we'll go from there. And I think the truck will have a little bit better idea what's going on at that point, hopefully. And then I will do like I'll do a TFL style gas test where I'll use the 2-click method to fill up and then drive it. And then I'll use the 2-click method to fill up again. And I'll know exactly how many gallons I used and how many miles I went. So
how many ports are in your truck bed there?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. Let me go back to that. So if people don't know about like some of the reasons that I went this route with the Tacoma is there's a USB a USB-A, a USB-C, and a 12-volt in the back with a little cubby hole for some storage. And then on the other side, you've got, oops, a little too far. You've got a 400 watt power in the bed. It's, I think, only 100 watts when the truck is moving, but it's 400 watts when it's parked. I'm going to be doing a test with my EcoFlow to see if when parked, it actually gets 400 watts or not, or if it works at all, because they're the last generation when you would plug in, and this is just kind of common for a lot of these inverters, when you plug in a bigger power station, it needs a pure sine wave, and these don't necessarily provide that, and then they don't charge. So then that doesn't work, because if it can charge at 400 watts, that's great, but also that's only when you're moving. There are some kits, I think, that you can override that and do the 400. I'm sorry, only when you're parked, maybe, and then when you're moving, it's 100. But there are some kits that can maybe override that potentially. I'm not sure if I would do that or not, but yeah.
So I know you have the solar panels with your EcoFlow. Are you looking to actually plug it in and charge it while you're traveling from the truck bed or within the cab of the truck?
Most likely, I'll have some battery set up in the bed. I could just plug in my fridge in the back, and that would be fine. Then when I get somewhere, I would just need to plug it in at that point. So we'll see. I am also looking at, and the reason that I'm not sure about the battery is I'm looking for a battery setup. I don't want it to go full like Red Arc with all like craziness with a full build out with a second battery that gets charged constantly. And I'm just not, because I want to be able to use the truck as a truck when we're not overlanding. So when we do that, I'm looking at a few different batteries that are like IP65 rated that I could just leave in the back, and they could be charging my fridge at the same time. I would always start with a full battery, and then hopefully through driving it would, charge up pretty well, and then solar when we're parked. See how that goes. Yeah.
All right. And then I don't recall in the video, do you actually have like the ability to drop the tailgate down automatically, like other little features like that?
Yeah. In fact, it is a auto up and down tailgate.
Okay.
And really funnily enough, when I was sitting in the cab, and the salesperson came back, and I had pushed the button from the cab to lower it, and he was like, "Oh my god, I didn't know it did that." And so he was like, "Oh man, you just taught me something about this truck that I didn't know," which I thought was kind of interesting. But I think that's kind of typical of salespeople. And then also the guys at Discount Tire were very impressed with that. They were like, "Oh, they had to do it," because you can touch either side of on the lights on the outside. There's a button, or you can touch from inside, like where you normally grab the tailgate, and then you can actually just push it up a little bit, like with your knee or your hand, and it'll go up automatically as well.
Go up on its own. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Any other little Easter eggs you know about?
There's a couple like that other people have found, I guess, but like um, I'm still just getting to know the truck overall. I think I did go through a lot of the settings. Um, the one thing that I think too that was a quirk or people were complaining about a lot on the forums was the stereo. They didn't feel like the stereo with the JBL speaker worked very well. So that's one of the things that the premium package has as part of it, but you can get in other packages. Is this? There's a JBL speaker behind this. Behind the screen, there's a JBL speaker that actually pops out, and you can use it as a Bluetooth speaker. You can kind of just barely see it in the background there, but I think it sounds pretty good, and I think it's really all about source. So if you're using satellite radio, it's going to sound like garbage because I think they use there's two versions of satellite radio, and they use the worst version for this vehicle. I have never liked I used to listen to satellite radio a long time ago, and I don't find it all that great anymore. So I don't even listen to it. I mean, everything's through my phone. So, but you know what? Some people don't want to use their phones, and I think the radio sounded okay. And again, I might do some kind of video with audio from different sources, but I won't be able to put it on YouTube because I get demonetized. So I'm not that I've even monetized yet because I'm not. But if I ever were monetized, then I would get demonetized.
So it looks like from their footage that was just up on your dashboard, it actually has a sensor for each of the 3 back seat passenger spots as far as seatbelt safety.
I think it might, yeah. Let you know when there's somebody in the back. Yeah.
Okay.
When I think somebody's in the back. Another funny part was to test drive my own vehicle that I had put money down on. I actually had to put 1.5 gallons of gas in it because it was completely empty.
So then I'm curious. I'm assuming you've driven you said you've driven the truck over 100 miles and whatnot. Has Rue been with you?
She has been with me a few times. Yes. I don't know if I have any video with her in it, but she's been in it. She's been able to get in pretty easily. I did have to lift her in once because I have a bunch of stuff in my garage at the moment, and so she wasn't able to get a running start like she normally does. But yeah, she's been able to get in and out. She seems happy with it. She's right here. In fact, she's saying hello.
And then, I know, with my dog, when she's in the car, I actually have to buckle the seat, otherwise the alert will go off, and I don't sit there and listen to that the whole time. So I'm guessing that's not an issue with your Tacoma.
Yeah, they must have thought about that because it doesn't go off. If I don't buckle, it goes off almost immediately and is really annoying. But it hasn't gone off with her at all.
Okay, because I mean, it depends on how she's sitting and where she's sitting. When I've got Maggie with me,
sure.
I mean, she's a medium-sized dog. She's golden doodle. She's not like a big brute or anything, but just enough when she's sitting in or laying down and things like that. She'll trigger the seatbelt alarm, which makes her panic a little bit because we've got the in-ground fence. So she's got the collar on when we let her out to run around. And if she gets near that, then the collar does a little beep. And that's kind of what she's expecting, I think, when she hears the alarm go off for the seatbelt. So I just buckle the seatbelt now every time. So that way she doesn't have to, have that little panic attack.
Yeah, it doesn't go off in this vehicle. It didn't go off in the Tucson, but that's kind of annoying. If that happened, for sure. I mean, you can also, I guess, having it buckled isn't a big deal either. You just remember to do it. So yeah, I mean, first impressions are I do really like it a lot. Misty also, her impressions were it has more power than the Tucson. So people complain about power. I just don't have any complaints about in the power department of this truck for what we're going to use it for. Some people might not feel that same way, but it's far more powerful than our Tucson was. And I knew it wasn't going to be a Tesla because, only electric vehicles really take off like that anyway. So it's been good. The heated steering wheel and the heated seats are very hot. So that if you're into that, that's good. Misty loves that. So she liked that as well. She also actually picked up on the brakes, which I thought was interesting. So she, the first time she had to brake kind of hard a little bit, she was like, wow, those brakes were really good. And I said, well, in comparison to the 23. She's like, yeah, I remember the 23 being really squishy. And the 23s had, the third gens had like drum brakes in the back. So she actually kind of noticed that, which I thought was interesting as somebody who, she doesn't really care what she's driving or what it looks like or anything like that. So that was kind of an interesting comment from her.
You mentioned Tesla. When we were down in Miami for spring break, I actually saw not one but two Cybertrucks out in the wild.
Nice.
They're simultaneously cool and so bizarre. You don't even know what you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, sorry for you're hearing my dog in the background there. She's lapping up some water. It's an interesting vehicle. And I guess some people, it's for some people and not for others. That's all I can really say about it. I mean, Tesla makes good vehicles, and they are made in America, which is also really cool. But they're only for certain people who have chargers at home and aren't going to be taking super long trips, that kind of stuff, especially the ones that are out right now, because I think they only have right around 300 miles of range. And those things are just they're like 9,000 pounds. It's just massive. So yeah, it's cool that you got to see one of those. What else did you do on your trip?
I mean, we got to spend a couple days oceanside, so that was nice. And then we basically flew down to Miami, spent a couple days in Miami, and then after a couple days, we road tripped it up with the van that we rented through Enterprise, and spent the last 4 days in Orlando. We stayed at a resort called the Grove, which was really nice. And it was basically just a short trip from there to go to any of the theme parks. We didn't make it to a Disney resort, even though they were right there, just because we ended up having one bad weather day at the wrong time. So we only made it to one park, but we went to Universal, and that was a ton of fun. Really enjoyed that.
Sweet. Yeah, Universal's fun. It's a good time. I'm glad you got that vacation.
Yeah, it was good. I say, like, as far as Universal goes, like, the weird thing is, like, every place has fast passes now, so that way you can, get through the line faster. And the fast passes worked, but we ended up they have two different versions of fast pass there. One is the full day, which was going to cost us $300 a fast pass, which is more than the actual entry fee into the park. So we did not go that route. We ended up going, there's like basically a nighttime one that as of 4 o'clock you can start using it, and that was only $100 a fast pass. So we picked up one for each of the kids, and then if there was a ride that one of the kids didn't want to go on, then I grabbed their fast pass and we jumped on it. But no, I had a really good time.
Yeah, super cool. I'm glad you got to do that. Definitely was important. So yeah, I think, again, if anybody has questions that they're on the stream, please post them about whatever, and we're happy to answer those. I guess we could talk a little bit about recent either modifications, purchases, things we're going to be doing for our overland build outs a little bit too. I know you've got one you want to talk a little bit about, and I can talk really quickly about this one. So this is currently in my garage in this exact state. I just took this video a little bit ago. But this is the Kuat Ibex rack, and that's the rack I'll be running in the back of my Tacoma for overlanding. I'm pretty. You can see the little scratches that I had there from not doing such a good job of laying like something down on the ground when I was putting it together. But yeah, I'm excited about this rack. It's super configurable. You can run it in this mid height. You can run it in full height. They're going to have panels out for it, so you can completely put panels all the way around it and enclose it and lock it up. They have all kinds of accessories for it. You can see some of those in the background there. So I'll be putting a molly panel on one side and then some like quarter mollies or half mollies as well. Bottle opener. There's a third brake light kit, which I may or may not end up adding. And then they've got an antenna kit. And so I'll be putting, I'm going to have 4x4 Colorado help me route the antenna wire to the rack, so that, because that's one thing I probably would screw up. I don't really want to screw that up in my brand new vehicle. So yeah, I'm excited about this rack. When we were at Overland Expo, I looked at like every rack you could imagine, and they're just there weren't very many that were super configurable. There were some you can run, that were mid height or full height. But this one just like, this company builds a lot of racks already for bike racks and cars and things like that. They know what they're doing. It looks really good. It's not that heavy. I weighed it out today. It was 60. So I picked that up and I weighed it and it was 61 pounds, I think, which is, it's a pretty good weight for a rack, I think. With the mount, and the mounting panels are like 3 pounds. So it's probably going to be all in about 65 pounds in this configuration, a little bit heavier in the full. And then if you put the panels on and everything like that and close it, it's going to be even higher. But I'm really excited about this. And I reached out to Kuat because once I decided this is what I wanted to do, I reached out to them and said, hey, is it, any opportunity for partnership here? And they have an ambassador program. And I was able to get into that. So they actually sent me this stuff. So I'm not only is it the rack that I wanted, but I also am going to get to test it out and basically be ambassador for them this year,
nice.
which is super, super exciting. Yeah.
Nice.
But there'll be more videos on that, install, all that kind of stuff coming in the future. And then, obviously lots of videos and updates on how the rack is doing over time.
So you're getting all the big things right now. You got the truck, you've got the rack there. I am curious, like day one with the truck, like how big was the smile when you got in it and drove it off the lot?
I think I even said even in the test drive, but in both of them, you can hear the smile in my voice in the video. I don't know if I actually edited that out or not, but you can hear how much I'm smiling. And even in Misty's video, she was smiling when she drove it. So I set her up purposely. I put her into a little bit of a rough thing. So everybody who said, the Tacoma's underpowered, blah, 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 blah. I put her into a spot where I think it's 3 lanes across on each side and it's no stoplight and you have to pull out. Maybe it's 2. I think it's 4 lanes, but you have to pull out. It's a pretty busy road in Colorado Springs. And she didn't know that until we got up. She's like, oh, I don't think this is good. You can hear her. She's like, I don't think this is a good idea. And finally there was like an opening in the, outside lane for us to go. I'm like, you got to go. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, and punch it. And she just smashed it down. And she's like, she almost went, you could tell. So yeah, it was good. So power's been good. Definitely been smiling, driving it around. It's so good to be back in a truck. I haven't been in a truck for it's been probably 20 years. So I own my very first vehicle was a rear-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive Ford Ranger that I bought from my dad. That one I did drive into the ditch at one point in a snowstorm. So that did happen, but it didn't damage anything. So it wasn't too bad. And then my next one was a Ford Ranger. It was a 2000 or 2001, I think, manual. So that was kind of fun, 4-wheel drive. We had that for like 3 years. We really liked that truck a lot. But then we were always SUVs or cars after that because they were more practical for what we were doing. And this vehicle is really meant for us to be able to get out and adventure for the next, hopefully 10 or 15 years. Hopefully that we have no major problems with it, but we'll see. The turbo will probably have to be replaced at some point, and that's the way it works. But you know what? Turbos have been on diesel vehicles for an awfully long time, and they put a commercial turbo in this vehicle. So I'm gonna hope that Toyota knew what they're doing with it, and it's gonna last us a long time. So we'll see.
How much room do you have around that thing in your garage based on the video you're showing right now? It's kind of looping.
Not a ton. Let's see if I got any more here. It's not a ton. So, I have it's a 2-car garage. So I have all that stuff on the other side with the rack. But as far as, in front of and behind, it's parked almost to the garage door right now. And I can walk around it pretty comfortably, but I also have the tires on the other side. You can kind of see those here in the corner. So that's kind of, I got to get those sold yet, but that's also giving me not as much room as I normally would have.
So I'm lucky there, and with my garage is deeper, so like I have all sorts of wiggle room around my vehicle. Assuming I can actually put my vehicle in the garage. Right now, my son is taking over my stall in the garage with his car because he's been doing some work on his. He just got himself, I believe it's a 2013. My daughter drives an Audi. That's he's got. I'm blanking on what he has, but he's trying to put some.
Infinity, right?
Yes, it's Infinity. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like a G37X or something. Sounds about right. But he's putting a whole new muffler and exhaust system in it. So he's parking in there. He basically tucks it in every night. I'm not sure. I haven't witnessed it, but he may actually give it a kiss at night. I don't know. But he's loving the car.
So is that why he wrecked the last one? So you get a new one?
We're not going to talk about that, Ben. How dare you? I'm pretty sure that was just an inexperienced driver situation.
Yeah, now he's driving more of a sports car. That's definitely going to get better.
Right.
Yeah. So a couple other things. Yeah, I guess in those images, like I said, I got like maybe you can kind of see a little bit here. Actually, I have a better video right here. So we have the Molly panels, and like I said, there's antenna mounts, that kind of stuff. So that's all going to go on. A couple other things that arrived recently were I got some traction boards. I went with Rhino. I think they'll be fine for what we're going to do. I didn't go Max Tracks, but Rhino ones were less expensive. And I also got a Rhino recovery rope. You know, I imagine at some point I'll have to use some of those things, but if I don't, that's okay too. At least I have them. I got a bunch of tools at Harbor Freight because I knew I was going to do this install. So I got some torque wrenches and that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of building up my garage because we were in California for the last 4 years in tiny little apartments. So all my tools, everything that I had before, I had to sell all that when we moved to California. Now I'm having kind of to rebuild again. So between Harbor Freight and Amazon, I got some tools. So that's kind of cool. Nice. And then today I got an air compressor, so that came, and there'll be some videos on that. I went with Thor's Lightning on that one. We'll see how that goes, but I'm expecting it to be really good. It's a local company as well to Colorado. And then my tent, unfortunately, the 4x4 Colorado Alto Mini, it won't be here until the end of April right now. So it'll be end of April, early May before I'm able to put that on and actually take it out. But that should give me some pretty good experience with the truck between now and then and get used to it before I put a big load on the back. So that'll be nice. I guess I'd rather have a tent, but.
And we had a nice stretch of pretty good weather here to the point where I talked my son into like, hey, this weekend let's actually put the roof rack back on and let's get the tent on there so I can get that set up and see how it works, see how it attaches and all that stuff. But of course, the day came that we were going to do it, and the temperature plummeted. So, like, all right, we'll hold off a little longer. So
hopefully, next couple of weeks,
as nice as the weather's been, it still doesn't seem to want to cooperate with me.
Yeah, it never does. It's Wisconsin. It could be winter until July. So, let's be honest. You want to talk a little bit about some of the things you picked up here recently for your overlanding adventures?
Yeah, so I've just been kind of picking up like the kind of the basic needs for camping in general, whether you're overlanding or not. Because I did need a new set of camping chairs. I got it's sports and outdoors, just a small little table that can go next to the campfire and everything. You can set your drinks on and stuff. So I don't have to sit there and worry about cup holders and different pockets and ththings like that with the camping chairs. I picked up, because yours actually came with an interior light, mine did not. So I picked up it's just a 3-foot long, pretty heavy duty bendy LED strip with a USB-A attachment. So that way I plan on basically attaching this to the stretcher bar that goes across the top. And then I can, plug it in. It's got an on-off switch on it, so that way I can turn it on and off. Just got to make sure that I route the cable off to the side so I don't wrap myself up in it while I'm sleeping.
Are you going to attach it with cable ties, or are you going to use? Does it have like tape, or what are you going to do with
it? There are a couple of little plastic clips that came with it, but I'm not sure that they would actually work well on a metal pole.
Sure.
So I think I'm actually just going to see about finding some metal poles that are little metal pull clamps that I can just like clip on it. So that way I can easily take it on and off as needed. Because I mean, realistically, I could probably just take it off with those little deals and set it off to the side at night. So that way it just kind of dimly lights the tent if I need to get up in the middle of the night and adjust something, versus blinding me.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then, I didn't have quite the need that you have with your EcoFlow as far as like power capacity and things like that right now. So I started small and I picked up, I believe it's pronounced Ergotech, Agritech Plume. It's a 300 watt deal. You can get solar panels for it as well, but it's quite small, so it's easily packable. It weighs, according to Amazon, where I picked it up, it weighs just under 5 pounds. It comes with a couple different handles. There's a simple one like you see in the picture right there, that you attach later. It also comes with a shoulder strap, so that you could basically walk around with it at your side. So it's pretty portable. I know one of the reasons why I had picked it, and I apologize, I'm blanking on the man's name, but he's a guy that rides motorcycle all the time, and he was really excited to pick this one up because he could fit it in his saddlebag of his motorcycle, so that way he could have that extra power for people that do like kind of the motorcycle version of overlanding, which he called adventure biking, which was a new term to me. But
I've heard of it before.
It's got enough power that it, if need be, I could use an electric blanket if things got super cold, even with the sleeping bags I have. And again, like it's a compromise as far as like the type of the things you end up purchasing and things like that. I do have a handful of older sleeping bags. I think I'm going to start with just for the shorter trips that I'm going to do here before Colorado. And if they work fine, I'm not going to worry about buying, a couple of colder temperature sleeping bags at this time. So realistically, I think I just have a couple more things to do on the camping side as far as purchases go, which would be a regular table for preparing food. But Jackie did buy me basically it's like a fold out shelf that mounts to the back door of my Jeep. So I'm going to be mounting that here when the weather gets nice as well. So I'll have that surface I'll be able to work on. And then beyond that, I have tow straps already that came with the Jeep. I would be interested in getting a winch for the front, and potentially even I believe your friend mentioned it at the in the video chat last week that I wasn't able to make it to. Just having that a heavier duty front bumper. So after listening to him talk about that, I am kind of considering that because I've tagged a deer or two in my time here in Wisconsin. It's never fun. But beyond that, some recovery gear. I mean, you said you got the Rhino ones. I'm curious to see. Hopefully you never have to use them, but I'm curious to see if you actually try them out. Like what you think of them, because I know they've been marketing pretty hardcore on Amazon and Facebook when I'm going through all that stuff on my page. So they've been kind of getting my attention as far as a potential purchase there as well. I think honestly beyond that, I was thinking about getting some bigger jugs to be able to carry a few gallons of water along with, especially once it actually comes to the Colorado trip. But yeah, I'm getting pretty close to where I want to be as far as being able to drive and camp. As far as doing any kind of severe backwoods stuff, I'm not there yet. I know one of the things that I'll potentially do here if I start going on some of the logging trails here in Wisconsin is I'll definitely want to pick up a small electric chainsaw, so that way I can clear some of the paths if there's some trees down, things like that. But your friend was also going to what's that?
Getting close.
Yeah. I do need to make a Harbor Freight trip though to pick up some tools and things that I can easily cart with the Jeep when we're out and about.
Yeah, I'll have to do a video on what I purchased too. I'm trying to keep it what I'm taking along as useful and as small as possible, which I think I'll be able to do with, and also reduce some of the weight from what I'd originally kind of guesstimated, which will be good. But yeah, I mean, Harbor Freight's great, and then Amazon too. Like I picked up some of the torque wrenches I got from Amazon, and I did a gear wrench, 3/8 inch ratcheting wrench. And then I picked up a small Weir kit. It was like a 1/4 inch wrench, which will be great for like bits and things like that, and even small up to like about 10 millimeter kind of bolts, that kind of thing. And I use that a little bit on the rack. So that was pretty good too. So we'll have to do a comparison or something like that at some point too of what we purchased there, and then maybe bring Luke back on and have him talk about his ridiculously much bigger setup, I'm sure.
I mean, honestly, I think the only negative side of finding stuff on Amazon is just the overabundance of what's available. You know, being able to actually get into, what is it offering? Is this actually what I need? Is this going to be something that's going to break right away? Because I don't trust 5-star reviews. I'll tell you that right now. And anything close to a 5-star review, I have questions about as well, because there's no such thing as a perfect tool and a perfect anything. So just
so Project Farm is really good. So if you look at Project Farm, he tests all kinds of everything. So that's why I looked at some of those things and said, all right, these are not the best necessarily, but they're good. Like they're fine, right? So he tests everything pretty hard. And that's why I ended up kind of going with a few of the things that I picked, because I'm like, okay, that's good enough. If he put it through enough, like I'm never going to do that to my tools. So it's totally fine. So I would definitely recommend Project Farm. If you've never seen that before, it's a pretty good, he does a really good job with those reviews. And I think he just pits like 6 different things against each other and does like 5 or 6 tests and then ranks them all and gives you kind of his thoughts at the end. Yeah.
Well, I will say, just circling back real quick to the power station, if anyone's interested in, just a smaller power station, size-wise and price-wise, right now they're priced at $200 or $199, but they do have a $40 off going on right now. So I was able to snag it for relatively cheaper.
I'll throw a link in the description for that too. Yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, I mean, again, just as a starter one, I think it's going to be perfect for my needs, from everything from, the power output, charge time, and space and price.
Well, having one that side is good because you can bring it in your tent with you really easily. And so like that, even if you later on go, well, you know what, my power needs are bigger now, I got a fridge, I got whatever, and you go with something slightly bigger for inside your Jeep, you can always use that up in the tent, which is nice. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like you might end up with more than one, and that's fine. So yeah. All right. Well, we've gone. I don't know. Where's my timer here? I can't.
53 minutes.
53 minutes. Yes, that's on the back there. So I think that's pretty good. If anybody has any final questions, go ahead and throw them in. One thing I would plug for next week's live stream is Craig Metcalf from Kuat Racks is going to come on and just kind of talk to us a little bit about the IBEX rack system and their other products potentially as well. Like what went into the design of those, what have they done with them so far, how did they test them? I'm interested in all these types of things to see what's going on with that. Yeah, and then obviously we're going to have more trail videos as we build things out. And again, thanks to Dougie giving us more comments, which I appreciate. And we'll have a lot of those trail videos, both on my own and when we go out into the wilderness this summer on our longer trip. But yeah, I'm excited for all that. I can't wait. I'm just like, please tent come in so I can put it, get it on there. Just kind of where I'm at. I'm also going to do a video series this week. I'm going to film it this weekend on, I'm going to coat my vehicle. So I'm going to put a graphene coating on my vehicle. And I've done that a couple times before. So I'm just going to go through what I do for that to protect the paint as best as I can. It's going to get scratched. I already know it's going to get scratched, but I'm going to do a video on that. So do DIY detailing it with actually DIY details products in this case. So that should be fun. I'm actually taking the day off on Friday because it's my birthday to do that. My birthday present to myself is taking 6 hours to coat my car. It'll be great. But yeah, it should be fun though. So
you and I celebrate birthdays differently.
A little bit, yeah, yeah. There'll be drinks at the end of the night, maybe, or something like that. But
Right.
once I'm done, and I'm just looking at my vehicle, and it's all sparkly. So yeah, that's coming too. But yeah, thank you so much for the people who watched tonight. We did have some viewers, and I really appreciate all of you. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. That really helps us out. And remember to live your life in beta, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care, everybody.